right, thank you, MJ. Really helpful insight there on how the Mark Cuban companies are leveraging, as I said, the managed cloud on these spikes, both planned and unplanned. We're going to stay and keep the ball rolling with solution, and on this side, with a customer, a new and emerging a company called Showpitch, and we're going to talk about how they're leveraging DevOps, which is a very hot topic in cloud and cloud computing, as well as hybrid and true hybrid cloud to deliver. So to get that started and keep the ball rolling, please join me in welcoming our GM of the DevOps practice, Prashanth Chandrasekar.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. It's an absolute pleasure to be here in New York City again for Solve. So I'm here with this awesome customer called Showpitch, and we'll have EJ, who's got a phenomenal and inspirational story up here in a second. But before we get started there, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about DevOps and how it actually accelerates innovation using the cloud. So I think it's a very pertinent topic in this day. So to get things started, I want to talk about disruptive innovation. So you heard about this topic just in general with TJ earlier on from Forrester, but we live in an astounding time. Every facet of life today is being disrupted by software. You've heard Mark and Recent talk about how software is eating the world. So this is a rampant kind of ecosystem of companies that are trying to compete very, very heavily, either to create new business models or disrupt the incumbent in the space that may have been a company that's been there for 20 years. But either way, it's absolutely phenomenal. So in that world, the reason it's so rampant these days is because you have access to such variable compute and networking and storage, and it's so easily accessible for somebody to start a company. But what is not very easy is to compete in that space. It is extremely competitive. This is a snapshot in time. There are probably 20 companies behind each of these categories. They're all vying for that product market fit, iterating towards customer success. So it is very competitive. So essentially, companies have a choice these days, right? So they have three choices. They can either disrupt the industry incumbent that exists in that particular section of the market, or they can disrupt themselves if they are the incumbent, or they get disrupted, and you never want that. So how do they do this? So you've got kind of two modes of software delivery, and many of you guys in the room are aware of this, where you talk about a traditional software delivery model, and then you've got a continuous software delivery model. The traditional software delivery model essentially is extinct for companies that are starting today. That's why it's so easy to start, because they're very much focused on lowering the cost of innovation, which is what you see on the right, because you're talking about low incremental changes or incremental product features that you are launching out in the market, getting very, very good customer feedback, and iterating very, very quickly so that you don't have to spend a year to develop something and then realize that it actually isn't applicable. The concepts behind the differences here, I won't go through the detail, but if you just at a high level, if you look at everything from time to delivery, quality and testing, software deployment, monitoring and support, or infrastructure setup, generally the traditional model is more manual, is more reactive, and is just in general is slower. With a continuous software delivery model, you're talking about something that's extremely automated, which is where DevOps, et cetera, comes into play, and it's a lot more proactive from the standpoint of making sure that you're looking at your application as well as your infrastructure at the same time. Another good lens to think about this topic is you talk about the era that we live in. So we've moved from something that is back in the 1980s from mainframes to today very well into the cloud world. And the proliferation of compute is pretty astounding, right? So you've got the same set of folks in some ways. People have to adapt very quickly, but they're trying to balance these extremely tricky set of variables: size, complexity, speed, stability, reliability, and that's not an easy set of variables to manage, right? In this era, it's phenomenal because companies can get started really easily because it's cheap to spin up a cloud server, but it's extremely difficult to manage if you're trying to really compete very quickly and iterate. So that's where DevOps comes in. When you think about innovation and how it actually enables companies to fully utilize the cloud, truly exploit it for what it actually is all about. This is the time, right, where people can actually do that. So that's why DevOps, where there's this deep alignment between development teams, operations teams, security teams even, and testing teams even, that needs, and then ultimately connected with the business. How do you build applications that matter to customers, iterate on that concept very quickly, and make sure that your infrastructure is in lockstep, as agile as your development process is. So fundamentally, there's a lot of religious debates about this topic just in general, but we fully recognize that DevOps culture is fundamental. Like, you have to have that ingrained in the company so that they're able to actually utilize these principles. So everything from collaboration to automation to lean thinking like the Toyota way with the Kaizen principles, to measurement of all sorts of metrics that make sense from a proactivity standpoint, and then sharing of all this so that we actually are making progress. But working cohesively as a team across silos has never been this important in the history of software development. And this concept is, if you kind of peel the layer a little bit more, there are a lot more things behind that culture, right, that come into play, that become real. So things like infrastructure automation, monitoring, testing, integration, delivery, always having code that can be released into production, always having code that is being, merged into trunk, and then talking about blameless postmortem so that it's not a finger-pointing game. You've got your development teams and your operations teams essentially collaborating to make sure that we don't have any downtime. You've heard how there's such low tolerance for downtime these days because it really means revenue dollars, right? So that whole notion, it is a mainstream concept. Companies exploring the cloud in the right way, they are using this very much as a cultural concept. So this is not a gut feel by any measure of the imagination. There's data to back this up. Many companies have done research studies. We've done our own, which basically talks about really material reduction in terms of you're talking about downtime or failure rates or even spend to increased customer satisfaction scores and customer engagement on the business side. And then on the IT side, you're also seeing extremely material rates of faster software delivery, faster time to market, which is kind of what I was talking about with regards to disruption earlier, and then stability of the environment, and ultimately more innovation, which is very important. I love this frame from Gartner that talks about what kind of apps can we actually use to think about DevOps. How do we utilize DevOps in our environment? So this frame basically talks about systems of innovation, systems of differentiation, and systems of record. So some of this terminology might be familiar to you, but systems of record basically talks about traditional ERP applications like Oracle, for example. And then you've got systems of differentiation, which are things like named applications like Magento or Adobe Experience Manager, for example. And then you have systems of innovation, which are very much born in the cloud companies, or basically companies that are spinning up using agile methodology every day. So clearly DevOps applies across all three, but they can be truly exploited with new age apps in the systems of innovation bucket, as well as systems of differentiation with named applications. So this is how we solve for DevOps at Rackspace. So we've got 4 big pillars. So config management, application performance monitoring, automated workflows, and collaboration via ChatOps. So with config management, we automate our customers' environments using Chef. We also, on the Windows side, we use Windows PowerShell DSC. So EJ from Showpitch will talk about how we're doing that for his Windows environment in a second. With performance monitoring, we've got tools like New Relic and the Elk stack like Logstash and Kibana front end to actually really kind of explain to the customer and give them full visibility about how their application and infrastructure are performing, along with Rackspace Cloud Monitoring for all their service stats. And then automated workflows so that we can quickly spin up and spin down environments, whether it's a quick staging environment to test code before it actually gets pushed into production. And we're doing that in real time. We do that with StackStorm on the Linux side and with TeamCity and Octopus deploy for on the Windows side. Again, EJ will explain that. And we talk to our customers on Slack. We don't, we are very much appreciative of the fact that we have to operate on our customers' timeline, and they are very fast moving, so we have to collaborate very quickly with that. And then we use GitHub, obviously, for social code collaboration. And so what kind of applications? I deferred to the Gartner kind of matrix before. So we support everything from systems of innovation, which such as Rails and Python and Node.js, some of the new age apps, also to systems of differentiation. So Magento is, we just launched Managed Cloud for Magento, powered by DevOps Automation 2 weeks ago publicly, so that you will see if you come to the session this afternoon about how we use DevOps to manage e-commerce apps. There's a breakout session this afternoon, so please attend that if you're interested. That will give you the detail behind it. And obviously, all this is powered using all sorts of NoSQL data store technologies, et cetera, that we also support on our teams. So how does this happen? So this is a quick, kind of preview of what you'll see. So the idea is, the previous chart was a little bit of an eye chart, and that was very deliberate because it is a fairly complex set of things that you have to manage in this world. So what we do is we try to make it extremely easy. This is an internal view of how we manage, for example, or deploy a Magento application, very much by plugging in and plugging together essentially software components that make up a Magento application for our customers. Everything behind the scenes here is automated on Chef. That's all public, by the way, so our customers can see them. But we are building them real time so that we launch applications very, very quickly because we want to be highly automated right around this. So that's just a view. You can learn more again about those nerdy bits, as we like to say, this afternoon in that breakout session. And then Slack, that's EJ, who's going to come up in a second. That's Brandon, who's an engineer on our team, who they interact not only from a human-to-human perspective, but there are all sorts of bots that we use in Slack to interact with our customers. So from workflow integration to New Relic monitoring, all that is part of the same system, so that you have full contextual information, historical as well as current, to actually make changes in real time, so that your infrastructure and your development teams are working together. And this is the system, kind of how it works with our customers, where we've got Rackspace DevOps engineering sitting in the middle, really in the middle of not only automating the application environment on the right, which is the data plane, but also really working with our customers to iterate to the end zone using things like Slack, using GitHub, and then monitoring the environment at all times. At 3 o'clock in the morning, if something goes down based on an AppTech score or indicates it might go down with an AppTech score, we engage and we're in there. So with that, I will basically say all our customers, we'd love them to look like this because it's a fairly, like I said, competitive world, a complex world that they have to try to manage. So we want to essentially help them and make them look like this with big grins on their faces. So EJ, with that, so I will introduce him in a second, but there's a video just to introduce Showpitch, which will get going.
The problem number one for aspiring talent and filmmakers or any content creator is no longer a problem of distribution. It's now become a problem of attention, because I can put my content anywhere. But if you're a filmmaker, you may be looking for a crew, you're looking for cast, you're looking for music to score inside of your film. Similarly, if you're an actor, you're looking for filmmakers. So because it's segmented, it's hard to find each other. So with Showpitch, that's one of the main problems that we saw that we were addressing, is creating this ecosphere digitally that connects and ties in all of the fragments and the segments under one rule. It was really 4 guys starting out. The company's grown to roughly 25 full-time employees, 15 part-time consultants and advisors, and by extension, a network of about 90 people that are involved in Showpitch from all facets of the entertainment industry.
One of the problems we're trying to solve is really honestly, first and foremost, manpower. By going with Rackspace DevOps, that gives us literally a DevOps department, not just a person, not just a couple people, but a department at our fingertips. I shied away from Rackspace when I first started the process of picking a hosting provider. We had one picked, and it worked. It's all right. It was available. We could spin up boxes as we need. Everything worked, but you were really out there in the ocean. You were paddling to stay up. I'm hired to be the software architect, and I've spent a ton of time doing dev operations. And so what we needed desperately was someone to take over that for us. So we moved over to Rackspace, and it wasn't a hard sell. We have Windows boxes, we have Windows app servers, we've got a load balancer, we're running cloud file storage, we're running Object Rocket, we're doing RabbitMQ in the cloud, which is a partner of Rackspace. So we like Rackspace, and we're really using everything we can get our hands on.
By utilizing Rackspace and the infrastructure that Rackspace has built and developed as a partnership for us, it allows our small yet very proficient technology team to be freed up to work on other areas that are important to us, which is actually developing and delivering the product.
So with that, please welcome EJ from Showpitch. Green button. Yep.
How y'all doing? Good. 2 of you are good. The rest of you are here. That's great. My name is Eric Johnson, and I'm one of 2 senior software architects for Showpitch. Now, you may be confused because I'm only holding 1 finger up and I said 2. Let me give you a couple of rules when I'm talking to help you kind of keep up. Number 1, this is any number I want it to be. So I may say 7, I may say 20, but you got to listen. You can't watch because it doesn't work, right? Number 2, these are quotes and not apostrophes. I really understand that, and I do this a lot. Number 3, this is a thumb. So stay with me. I'm really excited to be here and tell you about our interaction with Rackspace and tell you about Showpitch itself. Showpitch is out to solve a problem. We are a disrupting company. We're out to solve the problem of the need for content in the entertainment industry and to level the playing ground for aspiring talent and creators. Here's our problem. Historically, up till now, the entertainment industry has been basically a closed section. It's kind of a fraternal order group that is hard to get into. It's hard to break into. But the problem is digital media and just entertainment itself is growing so rapidly that they've been forced to step out and join the global community in order to get content and content that's being provided faster, more frequently, and cheaper. So they don't get to be their own group anymore. They have to share with everybody else. But the second problem is for talent, it hasn't changed. Talent still has no connectivity with the industry or very little. They have no leverage, they have no money, and they have no time. And so that problem is also one we're addressing. Here's the third issue. How many? 3, that's right. So here's the third issue. The industry is fragmented. It's fragmented in the fact that if I'm looking for talent and I need an actor, I may go look at exploretalent.org. If I'm looking for a musician, I may look at Reverb Nation. If I'm looking for a model, I may go to Model Mayhem. And if I'm in my industry, I may go to IMDb, so on and so forth. It's also fragmented in their audience. For social interaction, we have an audience on Facebook. For our content, we have an audience, we keep our content out on YouTube. For professional, my resume is going to be on LinkedIn, and finally my communications through Twitter. And the problem is those never come together, do they? They're kind of a different audience all the way around. Well, we've come up with a solution to that. Our solution is this. We're going to take talent, fans, industry, and the corporate brands, and we're going to bring them onto one platform. No longer are you going to have to jump around from platform to platform, having different browsers, trying to keep those connected, keep those synced up. We're going to give you one platform that brings those all together in one place. And the way it's going to work is in collaboration, we're going to let you showcase, connect, collaborate, do pitches, find funding, develop and test and build. And you can do all that to collaborate, and then when it's time for some consumption, we're going to help you distribute, monetize, and merchandise. And so then you've got money and you can do it all over again. So we're bringing that all to one place. If you think of it this way, Facebook changed the way we socialize. LinkedIn changed the way we connect. Twitter changed the way we communicate. YouTube changed the way we consume content. Showpitch is going to change the way we collaborate. That's a little bit about Showpitch. I want to tell you how we at Showpitch are approaching technology historically and how we're doing it now with Rackspace. First of all, the team. We're a small team delivering big code. We've done somewhere between quarter to 500,000 lines of code in the last year and a half. We take the approach of code in a scrappy approach with no fear of change. In the last year and a half, we've had 2 major pivots. We started Showpitch on a backbone of a Java backend with a PHP middleware, and we realized a year ago that wasn't going to work for us. With the manpower that we had and the technology that we were doing, we needed something that was going to provide more flexibility and some more standards. So we decided to make a decision to shift to .NET in the back end and to use a NoSQL solution. In fact, we use ObjectRocket. The other shift we made was about 2 months ago, and we're in the middle of that shift right now. We've decided to go from a multi-application based on Knockout to a single application based on Aurelia. Now, the advantages we get out of this, with .NET, this gives us, first of all, it's a careful balance of tried and true meets bleeding edge feature sets. And what we get out of this is with .NET, of course, we get powerful and flexible framework, solid practices, proven security, and fast development. With Aurelia, we get, now just so you know, Aurelia is something, anybody ever heard of Aurelia? Okay, yeah, it's not many people have. It came out in alpha in January. That's how bleeding edge it is right now. It is a true ECMA 6 and even 7 framework for SPA. It gives us true object-oriented JavaScript and dependency injection. It gives us a lot of flexibility. We also believe in not reinventing the wheel. We use New Relic Insights for stats. We use New Relic for monitoring. Object Rocket for our database, Rackspaces for all kinds of things, cloud storage, hosting, and that list goes on, as well as JW Player for our media player, and Cloud AMQP for our RabbitMQ solution. So that gives you an idea of how our stack works. Now I want to give you a little bit about how our DevOps work. Now we have a huge DevOps team, and that's just because I'm overweight. It's just me, okay? I would love to tell you that we have this huge stack of guys that can do it, but it's just me. And so what we did is we sat down and we said, here's our approach to DevOps. First of all, we have this theoretical idea. And before Rackspace, we knew we wanted to do automation of environment. We knew that with our type of situation, we had to be able to predict load, and that's very difficult. Number two, we needed to be flexible and scalable. Those are key elements of what we needed. And currently, we had been running on 2 machines. And we knew that wasn't going to handle it. It was doing just fine for what we needed, but we knew that that wasn't scalable. So we had read about DSC. I knew about Chef. I've done some automation, things like that. But this is just theoretical. We didn't have the manpower. We didn't have the time. And a lot of places, we didn't have the knowledge to make this happen. However, we have embraced already code automation. We use TeamCity for our continuous integration, and we use Octopus Deploy for our continuous delivery. As you've heard already, if you're not doing this, you need to be doing this. With continuous integration, we know right away when something is broken. Our business has perfect insight into what's going on, because every time one of my developers commits to the branch, it gets posted, it gets built, and they get to see it. So we know early, hey, we broke that. Yeah, we know. We know instantly. Continuous delivery allows us to deploy instantly. When I want to deploy, I hit a button, and it takes what I have on development and moves it out to staging, and then I get approval from my QA group. They say, yeah, that's good to go. And guess what I have to do another deploy? I hit a button. I was born to push a button. I can do that. Our timeline is like this. Like, as I told you, we started with JavaScript and PHP back in October of 13. We pivoted to .NET technology earlier last year. In November 14, we did a private beta release. In March of this year, we pivoted to a single-page application, and we joined Rackspace DevOps. Now, we were cruising along. We thought we were doing okay, but there's a reason we joined Rackspace DevOps, and I'm going to tell you about it. Menudo. Anybody guess that one? Anybody like, I'll bet that's Menudo. I can't get around that. How many of y'all have heard of Menudo? Okay, a lot of you. We found out a little while ago that Menudo wants to hold a contest on Showpitch. And here's what that's going to look like. They're going to take and they're going to put stuff up on Showpitch. They're going to put audio files, things like that. You download that music, you sing, you dance, you record it, and you upload it, and you may get a chance to be the next member of Menudo. My video's ready. My wife won't let me send it. So here's what that meant to us. There's major brands behind this. Telemundo, NBC, Honda is behind this, and obviously Menudo. So you have a lot of major brands behind this. There's major funding behind this. Huge amounts of funding is going to go into advertising and in sponsorship through Honda. Major audience. We're not talking just the American Latino company. This is global. There's already people around the world who know about this and are interested in being involved in this. And finally, historical Menudo fans. For all of you who raise your hands, there it is. And then we have major traffic. Man, I got nervous. I'd love to say I was excited about major traffic, but I went, whoa, major traffic. That scared me a lot because number one, what? We have a big DevOps team because I'm overweight. I'm the software architect. That's not my job. I don't have time to handle major traffic. Now, Rackspace had come to us and said, hey, we feel like you're a good candidate for our DevOps program. And I said, that's a great idea. Let's push that out because it wasn't important to me. We were doing good. But when this major traffic idea came up, it scared me to death, and I made a call. Said, help us out. We need help. Let me tell you what happened. After Rackspace, you see our architecture changed a little bit. Rackspace helped us come up. They took our theoretical ideas and moved them to actual. They helped us come up with Rackspace managed DevOps managed DSC. With that meaning, before when I needed to spin up another machine, I would have to image one of my current machines, bring it up, patch it, put the newest code on it, and insert it into a load balancer. Now I'm pretty good, but you're looking at, on a good day, 3 hours to do that. And that's one machine. With this, I can say, hey, I got 2 machines running, let's bump that to 20. And DSC does the rest of the work. I go get my Diet Dr. Pepper, sit around for 20 minutes, and off we go. It brings up the machines, patches them, gets all the new code on it, makes sure it has the latest code of ours, inserts them to the database, or I'm sorry, the load balancer. It can bring up other load balancers. We can bring up other app machines. We can bring up more cloud instances. It does it all for us. And it frees up our team to develop. It frees me up to develop and design and architect. And it gives us an advantage that we did not have before. The other thing it gives us is just purely manpower. When you talk with Rackspace, the thing that that impressed me is when you hire Rackspace, you're not hiring machines. You're not hiring a login. I'm not paying, hey, great, I have a login, now I'm on my own. When I paid for Rackspace, when we joined up with Rackspace, and especially the DevOps, I got a full-fledged personal DevOps team. I no longer had to take responsibility. I could say, oh yeah, let me have Rackspace do that. And it wasn't, oh, we'll get that done in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It was, let me jump right on that. And so manpower is paramount to us. It gives us, and not just manpower, highly skilled manpower and highly available. Believe me, I've talked to Brandon, I've talked to these guys in the middle of the night, many nights. We hang out on Slack, it's a party. Us developers party. You get more than just the manpower. You get the racker attitude. I love it so much that I told him I really wanted to call myself a racker, but nobody's letting that happen. So I tried pitcher, it just sounds weird. So the racker attitude, first of all, they're like-minded. They love automation like us. They love cutting edge like us. We're looking at, I've been talking to Brandon and stuff, we're looking at doing DSC on Linux. I didn't even know they did that. We're looking at doing some other things, staying ahead of the curve. Their philosophy is just like ours. Second of all, fanatical support is not just something they say. Fanatical support is something they live and breathe and eat. They're always above and beyond. I can't tell you how many times I've called and said, I know that you're not responsible for what I'm about to ask you, but could one of you walk my dog? Done. That's not true. Don't call them on that. But they do things that are not. When we were in managed care, we were handling continuous integration, and I was having horrible problems with some of the software we were using, and I was having problems getting things out, and never once did they say, you know what, really, that's not part of what we offer. It was always, you got it. Let's figure it out. If they didn't know, it was, let me go talk to someone who knows. We can make this happen. Above and beyond. They're always professional. I can tell you, if it were me in their place, I would have said, Mr. Johnson, it's time to go to bed. Please leave us alone. Stop calling. We're not walking your dog. Always professional, always courteous. Really appreciate that. And finally, always fun. When I said we sat around at night and talked on Slack, wasn't a joke. Wasn't trying to make you laugh. We really did. Brandon, Taylor, who's sitting over here, Kevin, Michael, I can go on and on. John, these guys are part of my team. That's the biggie. We sit around, we joke, we play, we laugh, we get the job done, just as if they were actual pitchers. They're part of my team. And I thank you for that. I also want to take a moment and thank Rackspace for having us. If you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer it. I encourage you, if you're looking for a DevOps team, this is the one. Thank you.